Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're finally going to be adding some fish to the forest aquarium behind me. It's one that I know a lot of you guys really like. I certainly enjoy it, but it hasn't had anything in it for a really long time. Now, that's not completely true. Actually, a couple of days ago, I did put in a few red shrimp that I pulled out of the desert tank that's behind you guys. You probably saw that video. If not, don't forget to check it out. We did a lot of work to that tank and we got it back to looking the way that I wanted it to look, at least. Today's story is kind of interesting. We're not just putting in some random fish. They're actually fish that kind of spawned out of nowhere. Sort of. If you follow the channel, it won't be too much of a surprise, but it's still kind of a cool story. So let's go down to the basement and let's talk about it. Oh yeah, and for all of you that have complained in the past about my videos being super shaky, well, we're not shaky anymore. Finally got a gimbal, and this thing is pretty fun to use. I'm still learning how to use it, but yeah, things should be a little less shaky from here on out. You guys remember that at least a couple months ago, we took the Curry tetras out of this tank right here in the basement and put them over in the haunted aquarium. Now, I left this tank here because I was lazy. It was always my plan to, get it outside, get it cleaned up. But I'm glad I didn't, because the other day I came down here, I turned the lights on for once, and I noticed that there's actually a bunch of baby Curry tetras in this aquarium still. These little guys definitely weren't here when we first transferred the Currys over. They were probably just eggs up here in the Japan clover. But as you can tell, I mean, based on the size of a few of them here, they've been here for a whole time. They must have hatched really soon after we did the transfer, and I just didn't know they were here. And, we got really lucky that this tank didn't go anywhere. It didn't get, dumped out. I mean, you can see all the detritus down here. It's just been sitting here, but despite that, the fish are doing great. The filters also haven't been on this entire time. I think it just goes to show you that, just because your tank looks like this doesn't mean it's a death trap by any means. So I'm glad that we have these guys. I think now is a really good opportunity to take them out and really watch them be able to grow up in the forest tank. Before I noticed the baby fish, my plan was to take out just a few cardinal tetras, not everything that you see in this aquarium, but just a couple of them, throw them up there for the time being, see how we like them in there. But now that we have these babies, they're definitely going to be going in the tank. I wasn't paying attention to this tank at all. There's no overhead lighting here. It looks really bright right now, but that's because we have the overhead light just so you can see the tank. Like, it's hard to see. So when I came over the other day and I threw in this Rotala, I actually took a second to look at the tank and I went, oh my gosh, there's fish in here. The couple months that they've been in here, hatched, and just been living, they've definitely been feeding off of the detritus that's down here. I know it looks super ugly, and you might think, oh my gosh, that's a source of ammonia. How are these fish alive? Because the filters haven't been on. Well, I mean, it just goes to show you that just because you have a bunch of mold and stuff doesn't mean you're gonna have toxic levels of ammonia. In fact, let's grab a test kit and let's see what the parameters of this water are. Here's our API strip going in. Couple wiggles. Let's come over here and check the bottle. We have an undetectable KH, we have a 30 GH, and it looks like we have about a 6.5 on the pH. We're also seeing a lot of nitrate. I'm interested to see what that is. It's already looking like it's at least 80 according to that. That's crazy. That's not good. Scratch that. That nitrate is somewhere between 160 to 200 according to this. More importantly though, the nitrite is 0, so our ammonia is also probably 0 if we're seeing that, but that's incredible. These strips are not the most accurate tests, but I mean, that's a wide range. I mean, there's definitely, according to this, more than 100 ppm of nitrate in this aquarium, and these fish are still alive. That's not good. We need to get them out of here as fast as possible. So let's go ahead and let's do that now. Let's head upstairs with our 25 baby fish that we just saved. There's probably more in that tank, so we're not gonna take it down just quite yet. We'll check back on it in a couple hours and see if we can find some more. Because the levels of nitrate are so different from this water that the fish are in compared to the nitrate levels in the forest aquarium, which are, as of right now, 0, I'm gonna do a drip acclimation to gently halve the concentration over the next like 6 hours. Different species of fish are going to have different tolerances as far as a wide variety of chemicals go. Nitrate is one of them. I think this is a fish, the curry tetra, and I think this is an example of a fish that can definitely tolerate a high concentration, but I don't want to shock them by taking them from, somewhere like 100 ppm's nitrate all of a sudden into 0. So again, we're going to drip acclimate them slowly and have the concentration little by little until we get down to something more reasonable, like 40 milligrams per liter, and then go straight into the tank. So just a precautionary thing I'm doing. I don't want to throw these fish directly into this aquarium and have them go through any kind of shock. They are baby fish, so they are going to be more susceptible to that shock. This is also going to give them a little bit of a chance to get acquainted to the parameters of this tank that are also different, like the fact that we're adding CO2. The pH is slightly lower in this aquarium than what they're used to. So overall, I'm thinking this is probably the best move for getting these fish acclimated. While we're waiting though, we might as well just touch on how the aquarium's been doing over the course of, 3 weeks, maybe a month since we set it up. If you guys haven't seen the 2 setup videos that I did for this aquarium, I'll make them really easy for you to find down in the description, just in case you're interested on how this was built. But remember, mostly we filled the aquarium up with moss. You can see there's a lot of it here on all of the sticks from the front all the way to the back, and that moss is now just starting to grow. You can see the tips of the new growth are a little bit more bright green, starting to do their thing, so that's really good. Some of the stuff up in the front here doesn't get as much light, is not doing as well, still a little brown. The Christmas moss tends to like a little bit higher of light. The dwarf hairgrass that we have scattered throughout the aquarium is doing pretty well. I had a few pieces. Remember, the tissue cultures were a little old, so a few of the pieces ended up melting off, like this one in the front here, but it's starting to come back and it's starting to look really good. If you're a big fan of this tank, you might notice that there is some bucephalandra now in here. I pulled out some pieces that were actually in the haunted tank. They had a little bit of algae on them, you'll notice. Like this piece in the front here, you can see that fuzz algae on there. My hopes were that going from the haunted tank to this aquarium, the parameters would be different enough for that algae to just not be able to continue living, and unfortunately it hasn't really been the case. So not a big deal yet, it hasn't spread around, but you'll see here there's another different species of bucephalandra right there. And I think there's another couple pieces that are tucked around in the wood. I would like to add a little more though. Overall, I'm just really happy with the way everything turned out in this aquarium, from the substrate choice. This is the Brightwell Rio Cafe. This is providing, I think, a really good color balance here. The brown substrate with the natural kind of forest look I was going for. I think it works just perfect in my opinion, so I'm really happy with that. And of course the manzanita wood, mostly manzanita. There is some spider wood in the back, some of the really thin pieces, but all in all, I think I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. In the first video I mentioned we might not stick with the Denali light that it came with, but I am still using it. I like that it's super high up because it just kind of gives a much better spread of light throughout the aquarium versus something that would sit lower, then we would have darker areas in the front. So I think it's a good balance. We are using just a very simple Azu hang-on back filter. I believe this is a 150, and we have a pre-filter on there to prevent any shrimp or these new little fish from ending up in the filter. We don't want that. So all in all, I think this is going to be a perfect little house for our new baby fish, and I'm excited to get them in there. Alright guys, we have halved the concentration of nitrate in this little bucket here over the course of almost 2 days. So I'm confident that our little fishies are ready to go up here into their new home. So we'll detach the little drip system and we'll add them in. There they are, here we go. Let's try not to spill or disrupt our substrate too much. Make sure we don't have any left in the bucket here. All right, that kicked up quite a bit of junk, unfortunately, but let's wait a second and let's check out these little guys. I already see them darting around. These little fish are super hard to pick up on the camera, guys. I apologize for that. hopefully once we, give them another month or two to grow, they'll be a lot easier to see, but I'm really looking forward to watch them grow and develop in this aquarium. I think they're gonna absolutely love it. They definitely appreciate this tank more than the one that we found them in. They're up here looking for some food probably. I bet they're hungry, so we're gonna go grab some fry food and we'll give them a little dusting of some really fine food, get them nice and fat and happy in this tank. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today, adding the new fish, checking out the update, I guess, on the forest tank, and here's to seeing what happens with it. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.